Hello, and this is How to Be a Great Myth Hunter by me. So, why should you listen to me? Well, I joined about 2 years ago, so I don't have the most experience, but I'm a dedicated myth hunter, as you can see by this MPTI, Myth Places to Investigate, badges leaderboard, and I'm right there, number 5, with 279 current badges out of almost 500. But out of hundreds of people, I'm still one of the highest. And I have lots of myth experience. I have over 97 files of myth games that I've investigated and documented the codes for. So before anything, if you're trying to be a myth hunter or are trying to be a better myth hunter, if you haven't already, just identify what kind of myth hunter you are and what do you hope to achieve. I don't know, gaining experience in making a myth one day, making friends while doing it, you think it's fun. A lot of my friends like getting badges and completions in games, and it's really time sucking, I guess, but very rewarding. And in myths, what are you interested in? Do you like puzzles, codes, exploration, interaction, badges, or lore the most? Do you like talking with them? Do you like solving languages? Do you like solving riddles? Those are things that you might be interested in. Those are what you want to focus on more. So the first step of being a myth hunter is finding a myth, and well, that can sound very simple. It's not exactly that simple unless you have one on hand already. The first place that I go to when I want to find a myth is usually myth groups. Myth groups have a lot of different roles and stuff that you can look through. A lot of people like to advertise their own stuff, and sometimes I look at that. You can look at Discord channels. One of the main things that I go to is the RMH Shouts list, and those usually have pretty good myths that get shouted in there that I like to explore. And a lot of the time, I only really like to explore games that I know has not a lot of attention, and that's what I like to focus my channel on. But if you want big myths, you can look at right there in the Roblox group. It has Marvelous Myths, which are probably 5,000 visits or higher, probably much higher, but you know what I mean. So you can look over there and basically check their profiles. Another thing you can do is looking at myth hunters' profiles. Myth hunters also explore lots of myths. This is an example of Mr. Oofalot, which I've looked at their profile before and looked at their favorites and found out that, oh, what's Quartz, XBY, or HYAG, or Utsupra? Those look like interesting games. Maybe I'll check it out. Another thing you could do is there's myth archiver profiles. So the original right there is interesting myths who follows favorites, myth games that they really like or find interesting, and then there's a myth archiver who follows a lot of things, and that can be a source. Lastly, you could look at something like the myth catalog. Myth catalog has myths sorted by categories. And you can look at, what are puzzle-based myths, exploration-based myths, RPG myths, story-oriented, and etc. So, after you have found the myth game that you want to look at and play, you can play it. This is Church of the Bunny Mask by the Cult of the Bunny Mask, I think. And I played this 2 days ago, I guess, and I took screenshots. The third step after playing it, or while playing it, you identify a type of myth. Usually myths are, they follow a sort of theme or structured gameplay that you can kind of get the gist of what they're looking for or how they hide their secrets, first step after joining the game I would do is identify what the myth looks like. So as you can see, there's lots and lots of islands on it. There's pictures and notes and stuff like that to get lore out of, and there's a roles list on the side of the screen. You can see that there's a ruler, there's a guest, that's me, admins, followers, active followers, generous followers, bunny child or bun child, and contributor in exile. And I figured that this must be roleplay oriented, so I would say it's exploration plus interaction based. So you can join the cult, and then whenever they hold an event or someone's in the game, you can join in and talk with them and get lore that way, or you can explore the game itself, and maybe there's some cool stuff you can find. So I would document findings that I find interesting or have some effect on the game. So right here I wrote, after clicking the flower, a cutscene played and I gained extra jump height as well as an aura. I have no idea what the aura is. If I find out, I would put that in there. Maybe it's the power of the sun. Maybe you could put your guesses on what it is in your notes as well, just so you don't forget. There I took a screenshot of some dialogue I got from talking with a flower that would also give me some lore. And right there in the bottom right corner it says he possessed the flower, and that gave me a badge for looking at it. So this is the type of stuff that I would document. And well, that was mainly for interaction games. Another way of document findings is videos or interrogations. So as you can see, there's Nico in the old Bomic Center, interrogation center, and he would document his interrogations with myths if you ever decide to do that. I know that's kind of dead right now as the time recording, but maybe you'll get some attention. Maybe some people will do that again. My fifth step after documenting, or while documenting, is solve puzzles / decode ciphers, and you know that can be pretty hard, so this is gonna be a pretty long section. Right here is two chessboards. One of them is smaller than the other, and it took a little bit of guess and checking to find out what the pattern was to pass this chessboard. And it turns out that spots with chess pieces on it would make you fall. And so on that right chessboard, I would walk on it, and if I walked on a space that had a chess piece on it in the smaller board, I would fall right through and die. Another type of puzzle or decode is these ciphers. Right here in the top left is a cipher from Taco Town. And if you don't recognize ciphers right away, it's not that big of a deal, because there's a bunch of online cipher detectors that would do it instantly for you. You don't have to know what all these ciphers are. I don't know what all these ciphers are. And sometimes ciphers are too short to recognize, so a bit of experience helps. And so the one that I'm looking at right now that says 117, 143, 141, 164 is octal, which is a form of a C. And so I would go to my associated website that has a converter, type in the code, and I get type in the cipher, and then I get my code, which is OCAT, which is taco backwards, but you'd only say OCAT. And then right there on the bottom left is another cipher that you can't really detect. You can kind of detect it, but it would take some checking. Right there, it doesn't really recommend the @bash cipher. It only has one vote for it, but it is still the top result, and it did give me my answer, which is Anti-Taco Corp. So just find your websites. They're not very hard to find. This one's called Decode, just with a D, no DE. And this is the one that I use most of the time, and that's really all you need most of the time. And if you need something more specific like Morse code and binary, then you might have a different website. If you need some other things, that's just up to you to find. There's no catch-all for this. Another type of decoding is translation, and right here you can see runes, but you don't know what type of runes there is. So you would go through Unicode lists, research the types of alphabets, and try to match up each individual letter to whatever is shown on the translation. And this would be a medieval rune. As you can see that these runes match up with the runes in the game, and then from there I can translate the phrase, which I forgot. Another thing you might need is Wiktionary. So some translation myths go even a step further and translate languages that are so dead that like ancient languages that you don't really use nowadays, so it's hard to find a translation for. Wiktionary is a good resource, but beware, you do need to find the Unicode of the language that you are trying to translate, which can take a bit of research and it's really annoying, but you know, it is what it is to be an expert myth hunter. Another type of puzzle is outside research. So this is from Melodies by Concerté, and you can see it's a piano that you can click and play and whatnot, but there is a certain code that you have to input in here. I got my hint for DM7 through one of the badges and some of the dialogue that says that his favorite chord was DM7. And so you can play DM7 on the piano, but I'm not a pianist, so I had to search it up. So here's the DM7 on the piano that I found on Google Images. And the last thing is that if you can't find out the puzzles or decode the ciphers, you can always try to find it in an old lost Discord server, or just RMH, or whatever Discord servers you're in myth related, and try to search up some keywords. So right there I typed in Astra and found a thread by C's that showed all of the answers, and right here I can see that whatever puzzle I was stuck on, C's explained it, because C's is a goat. And right there you can try to guess the answer, or he gives it to you. And this is how I do myths sometimes. I don't really make videos on myths that I do this way, because why would I share something that has already been done, or like I haven't done myself? That just makes no sense, because it's basically plagiarism. Another thing that you can do is go through the myth community wiki, because sometimes they have answers in there, and Kingcorky, Mr. Oops a lot, or whatever, has done it already and can give you a walkthrough. So that's a walkthrough for XLVI by Palidamort, and I wouldn't have figured it out myself because that would take too long and it looks annoying. Another thing you can do, which I assume if you're on my channel you've done this already, you can look at videos. That's a video for Traveler's Sanctuary Abstract by Stalzy, which I did use myself because Traveler's Sanctuary puzzles are a bit tough, or mad puzzles are a bit tough in general if you're not really paying attention to the lore or anything. And lastly, you could just ask a myth hunter that has done it themselves. That is me asking Omi how to get the badge for King of Kings, or the code, and that's how I got that badge. So 6th step, what now? You could explore more if you didn't explore all of it, or there's like a badge you didn't get. You can look again another day. You check if they have more games to explore. You check their groups. You can join their discords to interact with their community or interact with the myth himself. If it's uninteresting, move on and find a different game. I do that a lot. I've explored like probably close to 1,000 myth games now, and A lot of them don't seem that interesting to me, so I don't make a video or I don't complete them. And if it's too hard to give up, you could just ask others for help or return another day. And a lot of your favorite expert myth hunters have done that, because if you're having trouble with it, there's a good chance that they had some trouble with it, and if they didn't complete it that day, their hunt's not over. They would come back again, you know, if they're that dedicated. So some extra tips by me. Ask the myth. You can get so much mileage out of figuring out a myth game just by asking the myth themselves. If you're stuck, there's a good chance that they will help you. So right there on the left is Nico asking me some questions about my myth because he was having trouble. There on the top is me asking the creator of Iris Forgotten what the code is for the painting. And right there on the bottom is me asking Juniorism for a hint on where to find one of the words. More extra tips is to be polite. Like, as crazy as that sounds, or like as simple or, you know, obvious as that sounds, some people struggle with that. If people notice if you're annoying or not. If you're a kid and don't know your manners, like, there is some passes, but at a certain point, you're just being annoying and they don't want to talk to you. Then this applies to asking other myth hunters, asking executives in a myth hunting group, or like, you know, members in a myth hunting group. If you're asking somebody that has beaten it how to beat it, you just gotta be polite and they'll probably help you, unless they're really gatekeeping it. But this is the obvious one. If you're talking with myths or interacting with them within a game, just be polite, man. It's not that hard. And yeah, behind the scenes, even if they don't say it to your face, they will not like you and they won't want to talk to you, because we're all human. More extra tips. Train skills or learn. Some myths require you to be good at hobbies to progress, and sometimes you need to learn these techniques or practice them to get generally better at them, because they can be tough, sure, but it's not impossible even if you are on the phone, and this is just a fact. If you want to be one of the greats, you gotta get better at your technical skill. Another thing that might be a little bit weird to you is learn how to do exploits, dance, laugh clip. If you are really a completionist and really want to get into these hard badges, some myths aren't great at exploit proofing their game. So you can just get through walls and get into places that you really shouldn't be, just to beat the game. A lot of hunters can do this, and that's how they progress. Shift locking is pretty important, as well as for looking through walls or getting general clues on where to go, because sometimes you want to shift lock through a wall just to see what rooms there are or where the rooms are located, and that can be a hint to you to know where to go if it's not immediately obvious. And last one is learn how to do math, learn how to do history. Some myths, for no reason, want to include math in their myth games, and that can be a skill that you can learn, and that's just a suggestion. And that might sound tedious, but if you're really serious about this sort of thing, that's something you should consider. Alright, so what are some expert myth hunters say are their top 3 tips? I asked some of them, and here's how they responded. Here is what Kingcorky responded with. Experience is really everything. Do as much as you can, learn from it, and you'll improve pretty naturally. Probably the fastest way to grow. And this is just how I started too. It's just, there's no practice. There's no, lessons or school for myth hunting. It's just play the game, and eventually you'll get better at it. The more you know where to look, it's all instinct, and you can build those instincts yourself, and you get pretty far. Be curious, check out random accounts you think look odd, scour the followers, favorites of people you meet. And this is something I do with Kingcorky's accounts, this is something I do with Nico's accounts, is something I do with a lot of accounts, especially myth accounts, because I wonder what they're associated with, and if I can find more myths that way or hints that way. That's a pretty natural thing to do. And take interest in the fundamentals of hunting. The more you study how particular games do things, the easier it'll be for you to recognize if it crops up again. And this is what I was saying about identifying the type of myth. It's not really about if it's a clown myth or like a murder myth or like a doctor myth. It's not really any of that. It's just how they do their codes, how they hide their secrets. If they like making you touch objects a lot, or click objects a lot, or say things in chat a lot, then that's a pretty natural progression to find out what you're supposed to do, and this comes through experience. So if you play a lot of myth games, you'll be pretty damn good at finding those stuff. Alright, the next person that I have is Monty, or Lodi, which is also on the MPTI badge leaderboard. They said to remember to not only search for things in the game, but also outside of it. Game page, badges, myth group, Roblox profiles and their followings, profiles history. Similar to Corky, but things that people don't normally do, and they really should. Like, you can find a lot in a person's inventory if they don't hide it. You can see what scripts they have, potentially, what audios they have, what decals they have. You can find all of that if they're not careful, and that would be a huge hint to you. Number 2 is get a site like Decode and maybe a translator like GlowsB to stay oriented in possible code/languages you might stumble upon. I usually have them favorited on my browser just so that I have it open whenever I need it, and that would be a pretty good resource and saves a bunch of time trying to search it up again. And remember to take breaks and don't push yourself too much if you see you're struggling, because trying too hard might leave you burnt out and discouraged, and that's pretty important. Remember to take breaks. This is something that you're supposed to do for fun, and pushing yourself too hard might make you hate doing it, which isn't particularly something you want to do. And lastly, we have Nico 6, who says that dumb yourself down sometimes. The puzzles or method are usually easier than you think. Sometimes people speculate too hard and go outside the box, and sometimes you need to pull yourself back, because usually the answer is something dumb that you thought wouldn't be the answer because it's too stupid to be the answer. So if you're having a hard time, probably the first step after having a hard time figuring out a puzzle is to step back and say, okay, how do I reset it from ground zero and get a good answer yet? Number 2, touch everything, run your mouse over everything, and say anything you think could be a code. And don't be nervous about saying codes in chat. Like, if you think it'll make you look stupid, it probably won't make you look stupid. You're just overthinking it. You can touch everything, touch random stuff, anything that might stand out you can touch, run your mouse everything. And this, knowing what could be a possible solution, comes with experience. Myth hunting. So the more you myth hunt and the more you experience things, the easier this part gets. And lastly, never give up. That's how you end up failing myths or not beating them. And this is coming from number 1 most dedicated myth hunter of 2022. As stupid as that seems, it's probably the biggest portion of his success as a myth hunter is being too hard-headed to ever lose, and that's how you get to his heights. Alright, my main takeaways for you today would probably be to find what you're good at and what you like the most. Your strengths are what you can bring to the table, and this is particularly useful when you're exploring myths or trying to join cliques within a myth hunting group. Show what you're good at. Oh, like, I recognize all these codes, or I'm really dedicated to finding these triggers, or I'm really good at math or computer science. These are all things that you can be good at and you should identify so you know what you can bring to the table when you join these groups. Another thing you can do is stay away from drama. Drama will make you hate myths and can get you in a lot of trouble. I see a lot that, oh, like, I don't like myth hunting, or like, I don't like myths because, you know, they did this and this and this. And my answer to that is ignore it. You don't have to emotionally invest yourself in something that doesn't really apply or directly impact you. If it impacts someone you know, then, you know, that's something that you can help them with. But in general, if I see someone have drama, or like a myth have drama, then I just say, oh, I won't support this person anymore, and then walk away. There's no reason for you to get involved if you don't have to get involved. And if you're searching for drama, then, I don't know, you could do that on your own time, and that'll be your failure. Lastly, have fun. I would never play or showcase a myth game that I don't personally like. And this goes for tours, or like invitations to play a myth game, or recommendations. And this directly applies to my videos itself. I don't like to showcase games that I just don't like. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I force myself to play a game that doesn't bring me happiness? And this is why I do my channel, or why I play myth games in the first place. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. A little bit different than all the rest of my videos, but I hope this gave you a clear image of what myth hunting is like and how to get better at it, and some tips from pro myth hunters that play myth games way too much. Have a good day, and goodbye.